Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining this week's PAVE panel. We are going to get started very shortly. Just going to wait for folks to funnel in from the waiting room here. And while we do that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. A couple of housekeeping items here before we get started. As a reminder, you will be able to find the full recording of this panel, as well as all of our previous panels on our YouTube channel or our website at pavecampaign.org. So I want to welcome you all to PAVE's 137th virtual panel. We're thrilled to have you here today. And today we're going to be talking about a really cool initiative, the Civic Progress Challenge, which is a program that encourages college students to create real world solutions for accessible mobility. Our panelists today are Alicia Bott and David Sander from SAE. We have Michele Lee from Serve Robotics and Jessica Swan of GM. And my name is Caitlin Magny Miller. I'm PAVE's Communications Director, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. We're going to start off with a presentation from our panelists first, and then we'll get into a bit of a Q&A discussion. So I'm going to turn it over to Alicia.
Thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate it. And I wanted to thank you for allowing us to come and visit today and share some information about the SAE Civic Progress Challenge. If you can go to the first slide, that would be excellent. I want to tell everyone just a little bit about SAE if you don't know about us. SAE does all kinds of things from writing standards to creating publications. We have a fundraising arm that helps give STEM education to pre-K through 12 students, but we also have programs, which I'll be talking about today, that are for college students. And our newest program is the Civic Progress Challenge. But I want to tell you just a little bit about our collegiate design series. These are collegiate design experiences for our college students. And some of the objectives that are important for everyone to know is that we really focus on project management, budgeting, marketing, communication skills, and we're really trying to get these college students to critically think. And I think that you'll see a little bit about that in our Civic Progress Challenge. You may have heard of our collegiate design series. You might have heard of Formula SAE, Baja, Auto Drive Challenge. These are all collegiate design challenges that we have started. And our Civic Progress Challenge is just the newest in our lineup. And this one really gets to the heart of having students use their minds to really think about some of these civic issues that we have today. They are designing, building, testing the performance of real vehicles. They compete with students within the United States, but also across the globe. And we really want to get them to develop and prepare technical documentation, not only for the competition, but then to get themselves thinking about getting a job and getting into that workforce development avenue and, getting themselves in the pipeline to start working. You can go to the next slide, Caitlin, please.
Okay, thank you, Alicia. Were you gonna?
I did, yeah, I did. One more thing. I
Yep.
just wanted to note that the Civic Progress Challenge is what we're going to be talking about today. And I have Jessica Swan here from GM, and she's really kind of our expert when it comes to these vehicles. So I'm going to have her tell us a little bit about the Civic Progress Challenge overview, and then we'll get some real world experience after that from Michele. So go ahead, Jessica, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Alicia, for the wonderful
Absolutely.
introduction and all the information about SAE and the wonderful collegiate programs that you have. So GM is really proud to be a sponsor here for the SAE Civic Progress Challenge, and we're working with SAE to get the word out here. So Caitlin, very much appreciate being able to be here today to talk about this. What we will be doing is giving universities a Origin Wave vehicle, which you'll see here in the center of the screen. And this is slated to be turned into a wheelchair accessible vehicle by the universities during the Civic Progress Challenge. We have a 3-year progression in this series. So year one being safe ride, year two practical ride, and year three commercialized ride. And the intention behind the challenge is that currently in public transportation, you have what's called a four-strap securement, which you'll see in the bottom left hand of the slide. And when we move to these autonomous vehicles, there's not necessarily a driver or a person there to do the wheelchair securement. So how do we sufficiently secure a wheelchair in that situation? There are standards out there, in particular the UDIG standard that specifies what to do, and that's what you see there in the picture. And we're really needing universities to come in and to help with this program on how do you envision and imagine the interior of a wheelchair accessible vehicle in order to do ride sharing and accommodate this as well as the securement. So the vehicles that we will provide will be rolling chassis, so to say. They will not be propulsion capable. We remove certain sensors and the battery and things like that, but the challenge is really exciting from the standpoint that the universities get to change what they'd like to in the interior of the vehicle and play around with it in that sense. So we do have requests for participation open currently, and those close on April 15th. So about a month to express interest for the competition. And with that, we're really excited to have Michele Lee here as well with us. And she's going to talk a little bit here next on some lived experiences. So take it away, Michele, with the next slide.
Oh,
You're
Michele,
muted,
you're on
Michele.
mute.
After all these webinars that I've done, I feel like I should know where the mute button is. Hi, everyone. My name's Michele Lee, and I am super glad to be here with y'all and talking about this topic particularly. I currently lead accessibility at Serve Robotics, which is not really a lot to do with what we're talking about here, but still in the self-driving realm. But previously, prior to this, I was working with General Motors and Cruise and working on autonomous vehicles and trying to make things more accessible from that perspective. And I'm so glad that the Origin vehicles are finding a new home, new lives, and getting to continue the progress that we've made when we were working at Cruise and GM together. So this is really exciting. I'm here to talk to you just more broadly about my experience, but also not just my experience, the experience of so many people who use a wheelchair in this country, navigating just their daily lives. And so I've added a few photos here. Getting around just is just not easy. There's public transportation. Yes, there are privately owned vehicles, and yes, there are rideshare available, but it's very, let's just say, not consistent across the country. There's not a lot of access. It's very dependent on where you live. I was very fortunate to live in Chicago recently. I moved recently, but Chicago is a great place for public transportation. Even so, waiting for the bus or train when it's negative 20 degrees, not fun, right, y'all? Who wants to do that? And not very safe, I would say, from a hypothermia perspective. So public transit, even though yes, it's great and it's very accessible, it's not always available like when you need it. It's not as available. It dependent on where you live. Like I'm in a new estate now, and public transit is not the best here, so can't rely on that. And having your own vehicle, super expensive, a wheelchair accessible vehicle. If anyone Googles it, it's like double the price of like an actual vehicle. Like if you buy a car and then you have to upfit it, crazy amount of money to make it wheelchair accessible. And I don't think that that's just very feasible for a lot of people, not affordable. And it's if you don't have access to a vehicle, then you're pretty much stuck, or public transit. And so, looking at rideshare, looking at Uber and Lyft and taxis, it's great when they do have the vehicles available, but it's really terrible when it's not. And I've been in so many situations where I've been left stranded at the grocery store. I've been left stranded, on Thanksgiving one time, trying to get a ride home from my mom's house, just across town, and there wasn't an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi because, guess what? Those drivers wanted to have their Thanksgiving as well, right? They wanted to be home with their families. And so really the promise of AVs is amazing because, having a robot come and get me when I need to on Thanksgiving, would have really saved the day that holiday. So I'm super excited that this challenge is happening, and I really do encourage, if you know a college student, if you know if you work with the colleges, or if you in your day job can sponsor this challenge. I think there's a lot that can be done, and there's a lot that still needs to be done with regards to where the AV industry is now, where it could go in terms for equity, for accessibility. So I'm just excited this is happening. Right now, it's not great, y'all, is what I'm here to say. Let's find a better way together. And I think this challenge really does give us an opportunity to move forward as an industry. And I don't know who's taking it from here. So next slide.
I can take it from here. Thank you, Michelle. I want to make sure that everyone on this call today leaves here, not yet, obviously, but at the end of the call, leaving here knowing exactly how to get involved. So, if you see here, you can scan the QR code. That'll take you right to the SAE webpage for Civic Progress. You can also click on the link here if we send out the presentation, but you can scan that QR code. You can learn a little bit of information about Civic Progress, about SAE, about the cruise origin vehicle. We have the RFP is open. You can join right from this. You can click on it right from the site. The due date for that RFP is April 15th. So that is coming up in about 3 weeks. So we encourage everyone who is interested, not only to go ahead and register, but anyone who's on this call today. I'm sure that you all have probably went to college, or have an alma mater out there that you have connections, and you might want to share this with them. Any, kind of outreach to your social networks or your alma maters would be excellent. Just scan that code, send them to the page. And if you have any questions at all about Civic Progress, please email me at alicia.bott@sae.org. Thanks.
Fantastic. Well, if that's all for the presentation, we can get into some of the discussion questions. We have a handful here, and we had some attendees submit questions as well. So I'll dive in. Um, First, Alicia, you mentioned workforce development. I'm wondering if you can talk more about the role that workforce development plays in this context. Can you talk about the benefits of programs like this for students and early career professionals?
Yeah, so I think part of what we think at SAE is important is really getting students ready to get out in that workforce. They're going to college and they're getting involved in these competitions, not only because they like the work that they're doing, but I think that they really, at the end of the day, would love to get a job. I think that that's important for a lot of us. So what we try to do is we try to really give them an experience like they would have out in the workforce at some of these companies. We have a lot of companies that sponsor a lot of our events, right? So they're kind of getting the inside track on how things work, and how we really get ready to go out in the workforce. And oftentimes, a lot of our students that are involved in these competitions, they're at an advantage to get hired by a lot of these companies. I know, as Jessica, one of my co-presenters on here, probably knows that a lot of students from our competitions go on to then work at GM because we've worked so closely together with competitions. So it's really important. We know that there is a gap in the workforce. We know that there is a significant gap right now trying to find employees to fill a lot of these roles, and especially in the autonomous vehicle world, in the technology world, in the automotive space. So we're really trying to get these students involved. We're trying to give them the proper skill set, whether that's engineering or cyber or robotics, and also have them really working on a lot of these other skills, right? We have them do presentations. We have them work in groups. They communicate with each other. So we're just really trying, and we try to do this not only, we start in pre-K, and we do it all the way up through the college space and then into young professionals. So we're really trying to arm these students with the skills they need to go out into the workforce, but also to fill that gap in the workforce the best way that we can.
Really cool. I think back to my experiences in college and how valuable some of those hands-on projects really
Absolutely.
were to my own professional development. So appreciate that. Um,
Yeah.
Kind of stepping back a little bit more big picture here, why is it so important, would you say, to involve students and early career professionals in solving these accessibility challenges?
Can I take that one first, a stab?
Go
This is
for it.
Michelle speaking.
Please,
Yeah,
Michelle, go
this is
ahead.
Michelle speaking. And in all of my the career journey that I've had and trying to work with many kinds of engineers all over different the GM organization as well as crews, it's just like there's not as many people who are familiar with accessibility challenges, who don't really understand the nuance that comes with, like, disability is a very broad topic, right? It's like there's many types of disabilities. There's many, even in the wheelchair user community, like there's power wheelchairs, there's scooters, it gets very technical very fast. And to solve these problems, you really need to be thinking about them, early, like to your point, Alicia, like early and often, but also just be exposed to this stuff and also like understand that this is a real need in the community and also in society. So I think we really just need to build this awareness and also build the pipeline for disabled students to get into this field, because there's so much opportunity here. And I haven't met a lot of disabled engineers out there. I've met some, right? But I would love to meet more.
And I think, Michelle, you really speak to this civic responsibility that we all have, right? Like a lot of our challenge or a lot of our competitions, it's, creating a formula car or an off-road vehicle. But this is the one that really gets to the heart of like getting our students to think about some of these civic challenges that exist. Even if they don't exist for us as a person, they exist for our community members. And we really need to be thinking about how we make our communities better. If we have to live in them, they might as well be improved upon. So, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think both of you hit on a really big point of collaboration. This is one of our um, best opportunities across our portfolio for different disciplines from within the universities to share resources and to collaborate with the students so that they are learning about these universal design factors. They're learning about the lived experience, and they're applying that in solving problems through engineering solutions. So I think all of that really plays a key pivotal role in this particular challenge. So that's one of the things that drew us to it. So when Jessica brought it in, I was just thrilled that we had something to work with. And the other thing is Jessica actually is an alum of our SAE program, so she can speak to the importance of that as well.
Yes, David, we certainly at General Motors support many of the SAE collegiate competitions, so we're very excited to be able to have this one as well.
And I'm also going to add, this is Michelle speaking again. Maybe you don't experience disability right now, but like if as we age as a society, we're all gonna, if we're lucky, live to be 100 years old, right? And eventually maybe mobility is going to be a challenge for us, right? So we're really building for the future for ourselves. I mean, I didn't expect to use a wheelchair so early, right? Like I had a car crash and I became paralyzed. But if we're all lucky enough to live in an age into being, have a long, full life, we're going to have some mobility challenges. And eventually we're going to maybe have to use a wheelchair. And guess what? At that point in time, you still want to go where you need to go when you're 100 years old, right? Like you want to be able to move around, and looking around the vehicles that are on the road now, not a lot of them are wheelchair accessible, right? So I'm hoping that this challenge can spark ideas for the future engineers of America to do better.
Absolutely. Yeah, really good point. Kind of getting into more the nuts and bolts of this program. If I am a university looking to get involved with a competition, how do I join?
I can start with that. It's actually very easy. If you are looking to get involved in civic progress, if you just go to our website, you'll see that there's a description of the Civic Progress Challenge. It tells you what year one looks like, what year two looks like, what year three looks like, and you can click on our RFP. Couple of questions we ask, and basically what we want to do, the long and short of it is we want to give you a vehicle. We want to send a vehicle to your campus. We want to make sure that you have a place to store it and that you can move it around safely. And other than that, answering a couple of questions, making sure that you have a faculty advisor or someone at the school who is on board with this, filling out those couple questions and then submitting it to us. The review process is pretty quick and painless. That'll be done just after April 15th when everybody gets everything in. So very easy, seamless process. Out to the website, giving us a little bit of information, a couple signatures, and we want to get these origins to your campus.
Awesome. Before we wrap up here, what parting thoughts would you guys like to leave the audience with? How can universities or sponsors or volunteers or whoever it might be involved to support and cheer on and then see the results?
Yeah, I can start here. I know parting thoughts. I'm really excited that we're able to be here today and talking about this. And I know I saw in the chat as well there was a question on like, hey, how do I follow along? I'm not part of a university. And I know SAE is going to keep everybody up to date online and through social media on who we have joined and how we progress throughout the 4 years. So if that link is valid, or just search Civic Progress Challenge online, and you can find out what's going on and how things are progressing. And again, I think we see this as being a wonderful program to bring to collegiates because they have such an open mind and a view of the world and can really think outside the box, if you will, on different solutions to problems that we have. And this is a very important issue to look at as we start to bring autonomous vehicles onto our roads. It begins to open up the accessibility gap to transportation for different kinds of abilities. So this is really something that's very timely, which is great, and also an opportunity for us to get a lot of student participation and input into this. So thank you all. I'll turn it over. Maybe Alicia, do you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, as Jessica said, this is really timely. I think that there is some really interesting and important work that needs to be done in this space. We have Michele here giving us lived experience and talking about how it really does affect people. In the community, and someday it can affect us. And I think it's really important to get these students involved because these students are so smart and they have so many great ideas. And I think that we are just a way, and the Civic Progress Challenge is just a way for us to get some of these amazing ideas that these students have out to the world and making them come to fruition. So I think that it's really important that if anybody who's on the call today, encouraging anybody you know in the college space, anybody from your alma mater, we will be putting some things out on social media as we go along, and we get teams and we'll be celebrating all those things. But I think it's just really important for everybody to try to get involved in as if they can, not only to help us, but our communities. And I'm really excited. So if, David or Michele, you want to go ahead?
I got nothing to add except yes, please just follow along and share and amplify, get the word out because more folks involved, it's kind of like Oprah, you get a car, right? Like let's just get everyone these origin vehicles so that they can
Listen,
build them.
I'll play Oprah if I'm allowed. You get a car, you get a car.
Yeah, and I mean, if we look at trends, we know that these driverless rideshare platforms are going to be rolling out from different companies throughout the country, throughout the world. And it would be foolish of us to pass up this opportunity to utilize that platform as a gateway for people with mobility challenges to not have access to them, because they're going to become so ubiquitous that they are going to be, in every city, they're going to be in every state. And, they really open up the door for a lot of people with those mobility challenges to call up an Uber that happens to have the wheelchair accessibility component to it. So I see a lot of value in it, and there's a lot of other benefits to being a part of these programs beyond the fact that, you're going to put yourself in a good position to talk about this, when you're having your job interviews in the future. But again, it's, the purpose that this puts out there, it's so different than our other programs. And I think that's one of the key points that we need to, make sure we focus on. So I'm really proud of it. And I think we've got a lot of great things to share.
Yeah, David, I think you made a really great, parting point there about, we have the opportunity to rethink how people move, and why not look at, you, who current transportation systems aren't working for. So I want to say, before we up here, thank you so much, Alicia, David, Jessica, and Michele, for taking the time to join us today. Absolutely fascinating to learn more about this program, and we are excited to follow along. Like I said earlier, we will be posting the full video recording on our YouTube channel later today. So follow us on social media at PAVE Campaign to see that as soon as it's released, or check out our website at pavecampaign.org. And thank you to everyone who attended. We appreciate your participation.